Are the Miami Dolphins the most puzzling team of 2025? Well, Albert Breer and Connor Orr talk about it, and I'm going to react to it. So let's see. Do I agree? Are we that puzzling? What is up, Finn fans? How y'all doing? How y'all doing on this Wednesday, hump day? We're almost there. Training camp literally starts a week from today. They will be on the field and then open to the public a week from Saturday. So we are getting there. Quick little announcements. First one about the merch. You guys have, it's not a lot for normal people, but for me who doesn't push merch, who doesn't sell merch, and if you're wondering what I'm talking about this. You guys have been killing it. I think I've saw what I'm looking at is 7 shirts have been 5 shirts have been sold. 2 of the original design have been sold. I appreciate the heck out of every single one of you. You don't have to buy any of my stuff, and the fact that you are and you're representing and you're wearing it means the world to me. Thank you so much. And to the people who did go out and grab some, please, if you would like, send me a picture of you wearing it. I would love to shout you out for being awesome human beings. Link is in the description if you want to grab yourself a shirt or a hoodie, stickers, all that stuff. It is made in the USA. I know one of you guys asked me about that. The other thing, Jonah, no contract updates on Savanaya. I had it. Savinaya. It's late. I'm tired. No contract updates on him, meaning he cannot be at the facility until he signs a contract. So no, he's not there yet. And if you noticed, the Miami Dolphins didn't put out their little video of guys walking in the building, and maybe that's because Jonah isn't there. So as of right now, there's still 30 of the 32 second round picks that have not signed. One last update, I need a haircut. Anyway, so yeah, I came across this video about a month ago, and it's from Sports Illustrated, so I will not be showing the video because the picks video from Adam Rank, I got copyright claims, so I had to clip out a bunch of it. So if you go back and watch it, probably looks all a hot mess. But they came out, it's Connor Orr and Albert Breer came out with a video saying the Dolphins are the NFL's most puzzling team. It's about a 12-minute video. We're going to react to it, going to listen to it, talk about it. And then also, when was this? July 12th, which was a couple days ago, maybe about 4 or 5 days ago, they came out with another video kind of talking about the state of the Dolphins going into the season, and it's only a 2-minute video. So we're going to listen to these things. We're going to react to them. We're getting there. Again, this was a month ago. I've had this planned, but I had other content popping up, the trades popping up. I still kind of want to do the film breakdown of Zach Wilson, see what we possibly could have as a backup quarterback. There's some other videos I want to talk about. And then, like I said, next week, the vets report. So we got a lot to talk about. Let's just jump into this.
In the NFL at this point, because I don't know what the plan is. I would guess our boss Peter King used to always say this: if we can give Mike McDaniel sodium pentothal and ask him this question, right? But is this really who he wants at quarterback going?
Sodium pentothal, I'm assuming, is like truth serum. That's what I'm assuming.
Into the season, and I'm sick of the vitriol that comes from people asking this question. It's a legitimate question, and
yeah,
you're still not making any meaningful upgrades to this scheme that, and I think that Mike McDaniel is probably the most brilliant. One of the most brilliant play callers in the NFL, but there's no meaningful difference to your offense year in and year out, and it just keeps breaking down.
I'm going to ask you
going real quick, just going off of what he said, right? I think Mike McDaniel would like Tua, and I think Mike McDaniel's answer would be Tua going into the season because we've seen how well Tua can execute Mike McDaniel's offense. To his other point, I agree 100%. You look at the additions and what we did with this offense. We added James Daniels, which I'm happy about, and we brought in Jonah. That's it. Westbrook, yeah, but tight end, like there hasn't really been much of let's make this move to make this offense better. We didn't go out and get a top-notch guard. We didn't go and do, so I could see where Connor's coming from in that aspect.
Pointed question that I think will tell you a lot about your own feelings on the team. If someone comes and offers a first-round pick for Tyreek Hill, do you trade him?
Yes.
Yes.
And I think that tells you everything about where that team is.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I just think I feel like they've gotten to the point now where it's just I think we know what they are with this core of players, and I think they've subtly started to tell us, in peeling off some pieces, that they need to reset, and it's time for them to kind of rebuild in some areas. I think we all assume Jalen Ramsey probably won't be on the team in September.
Again, this was a month ago. He's with the Steelers.
Obviously Jalen Phillips has been hurt.
Jalen Ramsey's certainly assuming it. He's already said goodbye to the franchise, which is a tough move,
Yeah, I mean, where are you at with Bradley Chubb? I think obviously like Chop Robinson is the future with the edge guys that they've invested a lot in those positions, and the older two guys have been really beat up. Teron Armstead is gone, and you're rolling the dice with a second round pick and Patrick Paul at that position. This feels like they're subtly, maybe even not so subtly, like resetting. And so, like, I think for them, like with me, the Dolphins fans aren't going to like to hear this, but for me, like, I think like feeling good about this team is almost doesn't tie to wins and losses. It almost ties more to how do you feel about the young players on your team as a group to build around. And so it's like, I look at the guys that will be there in 2 years. Like, I think this is usually the way.
And that's where I think a lot of people, again, this is a month ago, but I don't think a lot of the things that they're bringing up and talking about really has changed in a month. This could be a situation where Stephen Ross, again, the thing that we've heard and said time and time again is that the bank is closed, right? If you want to get more cap space, you have to figure out how to get more cap space. And it seems like it's a situation where Greer and McDaniel have to figure out how to build a team that will, in their eyes, get them to the playoffs and be competitive. Because it seems to me, and which is so dumb. Again, this is just so dumb to me. And this is, again, if Stephen Ross ever watches my stuff, I mean no disrespect, but it's such a Stephen Ross thing to do, and that is give another year. And it seems like that's what Stephen Ross is doing in Greer and McDaniel. You got one more year. I'm not helping you with money. You need to figure it out, and you need to prove to me that you should keep your jobs. Because if not, you're gone and I'm resetting. That's what it seems like to me, but if that's the case, you're kind of tying one hand behind their back and they're going to be gone. So you might as well just made the decision from the first place. I don't know.
The way you want to think about it when a team's in this spot, it's like, how many of these players are going to be there in 2027?
Mm-hmm.
Jalen Waddle, Chop Robinson, and Kenneth Grant's their first round picks this year. So you assume he's going to be there. How many other guys do you look at on that team and you say, yeah, like that guy's going to be there in 2 years?
I think if I'm a Dolphins fan, and so just so everyone knows, I do read the comments on our YouTube channel, and I'm not going to say the verb that Albert and I are accused of doing to Mike McDaniel. I'm not going to say it. It's gross.
I love Mike McDaniel. I think he's he's a really, really good head coach.
I do too.
No, I'm not going to, like, there's no addendum to that. I think he's a really good head coach.
Period.
So if you're making,
I like Mike McDaniel, but I disagree that he's a really good head coach. There's still a lot he needs to learn. So to say that he's a really good head coach, I think he's a good head coach. I think if he can fix some situations and get him, you look at the coaches in the NFL that are really good head coaches. You look, like Mike Shanahan is a really good head coach. He's been to the Super Bowl. Obviously, he's not one of the best, but he's been to the Super Bowl. I would even put the Lions head coach as a really good head coach. Those types of coaches are really good head coaches. Even, you look at some of these teams that overachieved right now, you could say, so like with Mike McDaniel, a lot of times, his win-loss record against 500 teams is not good. I can't equate him to a really good head coach. That's just my thoughts.
In this, us against McDaniel, you're probably barking up the wrong tree.
No. We're accused of being too pro McDaniel to
Oh,
the point where
my Dolphins fans?
By Dolphins fans, to the point that we're maybe not Dolphins fans, but maybe just people on YouTube.
We're underrating the roster.
I don't know, but whatever it is, we're accused of doing something to Mike McDaniel via the YouTube comments that I wouldn't do. But I'm just saying, I'm not going to do it.
I see what you're saying.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so if this is your belief, then maybe best to skip ahead for 5 minutes. But if I'm a Dolphins fan, I come out of this year happy because again, Mike McDaniel's extended through the 28th season, and either Chris Grier has a come to Jesus moment here, or McDaniel gets to pick someone who's going to be more of a funnel to the kind of personnel that he likes on the roster, and that includes the quarterback position. Like, I think that McDaniel needs his own John Lynch in this scenario, right? And he kind of needs everybody rowing in the same direction in a personnel sense for that.
Yeah, I think it's you have to evaluate all of that. You have to evaluate.
So here's my thing with that. For one, Grier is not the type of GM that's going to necessarily push back on some moves that the head coach wants to make. Grier's most likely, and from what we heard time and time again, is the type of GM that is going to do what the head coach wants. So I don't know if I necessarily agree with Connor with the idea that, they need to get a guy that McDaniel, like McDaniel's under contract for however long. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all. Tony Sparano got a contract extension, got fired that same year. Your contract means nothing, especially to a billionaire. It means nothing. But to add, I'm against having a head coach bring in a GM. I'm more of a guy who you get a GM and then they find their head coach that fits what they want to do, that has their same mentality. Because, again, Chris Grier is not the guy from stories I heard from inside the building and from beat writers and from people that were in the war room, the only time I heard Chris Grier push back on a move was the Mika Fitzpatrick pick. That they wanted to go in a different direction. They wanted to go, more quarterback, this and that. Gase wanted his guys. And Grier said, nope, we're going Mika. And they went Mika. So, to say that McDaniel should find a guy that will funnel his vision and stuff, Grier got him Tyreek Hill. Like, the reason McDaniel was brought to the Dolphins was to help Tua. Now, let's not say he didn't, because Tua is better, but Tua can't stay healthy, and that's the biggest problem.
Evaluate, are we, like, in the time that McDaniel's been here, are we putting enough players that fit what he wants on the roster, and is the synergy where it needs to be?
Yeah.
And is Chris Grier really serving the coaching staff that way? I think that's a fair and open question. That's why there have been rumors about his own job security over the last couple of years.
Let me ask it this way, right? Okay.
Yeah.
He's been the GM of this team
9 years
since
2016.
2016.
Yep, 9 years.
Okay, yeah, but he really became the guy, I think, in 19. Wasn't that what it was?
Okay, so you can,
because
you can say
Tannenbaum was there.
Tannenbaum was there, right?
Right, and then I think when Flores became the head coach, he became the top personnel guy. So that would have been 19, I believe.
Okay, since 19, do you have an answer? Do you have a long-term answer at your ankle or your anchor tackle position?
No.
The answer is no.
We have
not
no
right
idea.
now, at least. We don't know. Do you have a long-term answer at number one corner? You're about to trade him, so no. Do you have an identity? I guess, kind of, you know?
You do have a number one receiver who he drafted in Jalen Waddle long-term. You do have a number one pass rusher. It looks like we'll see.
And Chop Robinson, is
we'll see,
good.
but it looks like it's trending that way.
And do you feel secure at the quarterback position?
And that's the big question. And that
Right.
they just leaned into him and paid him. And you know, I mean, I was there the night that Tua had the concussion, and it's hard for me to look at it any other way than like this thing still seems tenuous, like in where they are and where they're going forward. And you know,
Like I've said, especially with this season, because regardless if you want Tua gone or not, regardless if you're not a fan of Tua and whatever you want to say, he is the quarterback for 2025. Contractually and whatever else you want to say, he is the quarterback of 2025. You have no choice over the matter. Point blank, period. None at all. Going forward in the future, that's where things can get interesting. The fact that they have yet to pick up or make that move to clear up $19.5 or $19.1 million in cap space. The Miami Dolphins, like that, can get $19 million in cap space. That's a lot of money to do a lot of things. At any point in free agency, after the draft, this, that, they could have very easily got $19 million in cap space. But by doing that, it would have locked Tua in indefinitely for 2026 and possibly, you know, added more money on the back end. The Dolphins have not done that. The Dolphins will not do it because they haven't done it yet. And at this point, there's no point in doing it. Means that 2026 is a big fat question mark. And like I've said, me personally, if Tua gets injured again this season, I'm done. We got to move on from him. And it has, and at that point, it has nothing to do with his play on the field. It has nothing to do with his passing. It has everything to do with availability. The best ability is your availability. And if Tua cannot play the full 2025 season, there is no point in having him go any further, regardless of his play style. Regardless if when he was on the field, the man was lights out, he beat Buffalo by 23 points and all this great stuff, but at the end of the day, he missed 7 games in 2025. You can't, that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You got to move on. I'm sorry. And you might laugh at me and say, that's ridiculous. If you played that great, why would you? Because there's that big fat question mark. Hey, we need him. We'll lose those 7 games. You got to be able to have your starting quarterback on the field. It just is what it is.
like what that contract says, like I'm still not sure. I mean, I don't know, like you put Zach Wilson on that roster, and
Such
I
a
know
dumb
Zach
move.
had a really good year in Denver last year, quietly, you know, like behind the scenes, they really liked him. And obviously they've got their quarterback of the future. But I think the people in Denver would tell you, like, there's some hope for Zach Wilson. That's a guy who is talented enough to be the second pick in the draft, you know?
Yeah.
So,
And again, that could also be the Jets being dumb as hell. Because I'm not going to sit here and toot my own horn and say I knew better, blah, blah, blah. But I said coming out of college, Zach Wilson played behind the best offensive line in the country. He's going to struggle when he's not behind an at least average line, and he did. That doesn't necessarily mean he was warranted of that second overall pick. That is just the Jets needing a quarterback and taking one.
so like, I'm not saying Zach Wilson's going to go through some sort of career renaissance, but
Man, I hope so. If God forbid.
when you line the guys up in training camp, like Tua might not be the most talented guy. You know what I mean? Like,
That's where I'm going to push back. Again, you know, Tua has his faults. Tua has, you know, the health problems, and Tua has the, you know, kind of crumbles in certain situations. But to say that he's not better than Zach Wilson or Quinn Ewers, I think even some of the biggest Tua haters are going to have to disagree with that.
so that part of it, I think, is really interesting too. You know, are they looking for an escape hatch? Because instead of adding, I mean, and I think like you can sometimes kind of go on these things and look at it and say, all right, like what does this acquisition say to me? And they could have put someone in that room with Tua as like a resource to him, like the Josh McCown type. And I don't know who that
Right.
would have been, but they could have found somebody to put in that
If I
room.
wanted.
Case Keenum, you know?
Right.
Like Case Keenum to me is like he's the guy who you look at and say, like, yeah, like you put him in the room and then you're giving your young quarterback a chance to continue to study and to work with your guys. even off hours. You know what I mean? Like, can you find and instead of doing that, they put a guy who's trying to save his career, who's really talented.
Because they have no faith
Right.
he'll stay healthy.
I don't know. I look at little things like that, and I think that's at least very interesting to me.
It's hard because if you're if we're there, and again, okay, so they have. Let's see what the high pick on the offensive line does from 2024. You have Patrick Paul. Like, let's give him a little bit of room. You have a right guard that you took in the second round of the 25 draft. You clearly are trying to get more physical. You take Kenneth Grant in the first round here.
And Jordan Phillips.
Is that enough, right? Is that enough to at least get you to the point where, because again, Dolphins fans were frustrated about 9-8, 9-8, 9-8, 8-9. I would take 9-8 in a heartbeat for this team this year. I mean, that would represent a resounding.
See, but here's the thing, and this is where we might miss out on it, right? Because there might be some Dolphin fans that we take 9-8, we skirt in, or hey, we got another winning record. I don't care about winning records. What I care about is winning playoff games. And you went from 10-3. Possibly going into Baltimore, and this is going to make people laugh, and I fully expect it to make people laugh, but you're going into Baltimore fighting for the number 1 seed. Your quarterback, and I'm not joking, if you don't believe me, comment below and I will send you the link of the stats. The quarterback, I'll pop it up. The quarterback was third in the MVP race behind Lamar Jackson and CMC, was Tua Tagovailoa going into the second to last game in Baltimore. We were there, right? Yeah, we had the loss to Titans, but we still beat the Cowboys, and we needed to beat the Ravens. We beat the Ravens. Tua possibly goes higher in the MVP race. You laugh all you want, but it's true. And we could possibly have gotten the number 1 seed. We would have locked in the AFC East. We were like playing ridiculous, even as injured as we were, to 8-9. Boom, we just fall flat on our face. And I think that's where, me as a Dolphin fan anyway, it's not good enough. We were high. We were going into that Titans game. Going into the last 2 minutes and 30 seconds of that Titans game, we were in cloud 400, not even 9, because we were possibly 11-3 at that point, and we just had to win one more game, and we clinched the East, and oh my goodness, and we could have bye week, and boom, right on our faces in 2024.
Success for me.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't think. I mean, I don't think, like, looking at it and like, their schedule is relatively manageable, I would say. Like, you do have a chance to build up a little bit of momentum there. But I it's hard for me to look at this and not say, you know what, like, just like looking at their depth chart and looking at where they're at, looking at the players they're offloading. So much is going to come down to me to like how they feel about like their young core going forward. And is there something there to build around coming out of the year? Because their actions tell us this is a reset year for them. And
yeah, and I agree with that point. And I've talked to you guys about that a ton, and most recently as well, especially with the training camp questions, is it's just this team is a big fat question mark. And that's why saying that they're, a puzzle is not, I agree. I don't know what I titled the video, is the Miami Dolphins, or are the Miami Dolphins the biggest puzzle in 2025? Yeah. Because there's a lot of question marks on this team. And, this team can go one of two ways. They can surprise a lot of people, because again, you look at the schedule and everyone does this, and then, like I said last year, that gauntlet at the end of the year, they got the 49ers, they got the Texans, they got the Packers, the Browns are going to be good. Come to the end of the year, we lost to the Texans by 8 points off of 3 dumb interceptions. We beat the 49ers, we beat the Browns. Like, a lot can change. But let's, real quick, this is a 2-minute video. This is Albert Breer again Albert Breer and Connor talking about the Dolphins a little more.
I think the Dolphins were honest with themselves quietly, honest with themselves in another way where it's like, maybe we're not getting there with this group, and maybe now is the time to retool. And so Teron Armstead retires, which was a big deal. Replacing a left tackle is not easy. They're going to have a second-round pick from last year and Patrick Paul playing left tackle. Tyreek Hill had his least productive year since he was a rookie. Jalen Ramsey's now gone. And they had the two edge rushers who can't stay healthy, and Bradley Chubb and Jalen Phillips. So what are they? Like, where is the strength?
By the way, wouldn't you rather have Minka though still back instead of Jalen?
I think so.
Trade?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I mean, I think having Minka back
breaking down
stabilizes them a little bit, and it's very specific to what they are on defense with Anthony Weaver, and like in Baltimore when they remade the defense under Wink, and Weaver was there at the end of that. Like when they remade the defense under Wink, they really empowered the safety. So it's been a priority to have a really smart safety. So that was Eric Weddle for a bunch of years. It was Kyle Hamilton.
And that's the thing that you hear Steelers fans say Mika fell off the past few years, yada, yada, blah, blah, blah. But hearing, again, what Albert Breer is saying and what Wink Martindale did with the Ravens defense, you need to have that smart safety back there. And the Dolphins added that. And I guarantee you that was a Weaver move to go out and get yourself Mika back.
Hamilton more recently. And so, like, Anthony Weaver gets that on defense with Minka coming in. But is Minka the type of over-the-top difference maker where he's going to just change the fortune of the team? I don't know.
Not when it comes to
and
corners.
I just, this is the question I've asked people on them. How many players on that team right now are going to be there in 2 years?
Yeah. He kind of goes into what we were talking about before. These are things that are big old question marks. And again, this is where I think what Stephen Ross is doing is it's the last ditch effort from Mike McDaniel and Chris Grier, because like what Albert Breer is saying, there are guys on there, and we'll look at it because you can make moves very easily next year, and things can very easily change. So let's do this. So check this out, right? So we are looking at, is this the one I wanted to do? No, you know what? I think over the cap was a little bit more in depth. No offense to Spot Track. I do like Spot Track, but so calculator. Yeah, this is what I wanted to do. 2026. Here we go. So going off of what he said, right? Look at Tua Tagovailoa. Say we trade him before June 1st, right? Trade Tua pre-June 1st. You see that jump? -24 million. You trade him, we're up 6, right? Tyreek Hill, you just cut him. Boom, we're at 42 million, right? Mika's on the team. Sealer, I don't know what happens with Sealer. Bradley Chubb. Pre-June 1st cut, boom, we're at 50 million, right? Jordan Brooks, Jalen Waddle is a free agent, so he's probably over here. Not Jalen Waddle, Bradley Chubb, nope. Doug, use your brain. Jalen Phillips, he should be over. See, like Jonah's not even signed yet, which is driving me nuts. Yeah, right here, Jalen Phillips. But you look at that, right? Jordan Brooks, that's a possibility. Again, if we completely clean house, they'll probably just move on from him, even though I don't want to. That's $5 million there. Aaron Brewer, you can move on from him. You save money. Austin Jackson, you can move on from him. Probably do a post-June 1st. They probably move on from Alec Ingold. Jason Sanders, Kenneth Chop, James Daniels, Terrell Dotson, Zach Wilson, don't matter there. It's voided. But you see what I'm saying? So like what they move on from 5 guys, right? You're sitting at 58 million in cap space. And those are guys that you're like, is there a future here? Even Mika Fitzpatrick, which is crazy because we just traded for him. You get 17 million in savings. You see what I'm saying? You're at 75 million if you're like, everything fell apart. We're done. We're going to clean house. We're going to tear it down to the studs, get rid of everything, and build with Jalen Waddle, build with Chop Robinson, build with Kenneth Grant and all these young guys, Patrick Paul, Devon Achane, Jalen Wright, Malik Washington, build with the young guys. that's what's going to happen. But we'll see. Again, we're going into training camp, so we'll see. But right now, there's a big fat question mark at corner, and we'll see what happens with the depth. But in a nutshell, yeah, this team's a puzzle. We don't know what this team really is. We don't know the identity of the defense. Is the offense the same speedster identity? What is the offensive line going to do? Is Tua going to stay healthy? There's so many ifs. So I'll probably make a video talking about all the questions going into the 2025 season. I have a video talking about expectations of Tua, expectations of the offense and the defense, why to be optimistic, why to be pessimistic. So there's a lot that I got to talk about, obviously, but first we're talking training camp. So I will see you tomorrow. I think we'll do the film breakdown tomorrow. Hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't yet, and like usual, stay classy. My friends out.